Hi, my name is Angela Hoppe, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the project I'm involved in called Mommy Speaks. I began this project in 2013, and I conducted down at Lowell Women's Prison, which is in Florida. It's really in the heart of Florida. And I go down and I take oral histories of incarcerated women, caregivers, mothers, for their children. And I've been doing this now for around a year and a half. And so far I've completed around 70 interviews, and I've interviewed around 65 women, and I estimate that we've probably reached maybe around 400 children. I started this because I was getting a degree in social work, master in social work, and my dean had told me he would support me in this, and I was very excited. And I had thought at that time, if I complete 12 histories, I thought I was going to just be doing so great. And as I said, I'm way past that number now, and I keep going back, even though the class has been over now for well over a year, because the stories are just so important. And I think it's so important that the child gets to hear that their mother cared about them, and that their mother thought that they were so wonderful and so important to them. And that even though things may happen, they will always have this to hold on to. Well, in the last 2 weeks, I've told some of the women that these materials are going to be stored now at University of Florida in the Oral History Department. But you will always know that this institution is going to be there, and they're going to have that. And wow, did they love the idea that they were being housed at the University of Florida. Again, it gave more importance to their story. Every Wednesday morning, basically, I drive down to Lowell, and it's one of the 4 women's prisons in the state of Florida, and I'm in the reception area is just the name of one of the 3 compounds, and the compound altogether houses 5,000 women, which is one of the biggest women prisons, I believe, in the United States, if not in the world. I go there, and I go to a room in the chaplain's wing, and I generally will have 1 to 2 women waiting for me. I get there at around 8:30 in the morning. I leave around 11:30. I have as a general rule like an hour and 15 minutes with each woman, because it takes a while for her to feel comfortable to want to talk. And we talk about what is an oral history, what are some of the parameters about this. I tell them that we're not going to go into anything legal. This is for their children, but I tell them that we're not going to go into any legal matter because I don't want to ever have this to come back and bite them later. Anything they say now is public and can always be, listened to by any kind of authority if they wanted to. I have so many of the women are so nervous about doing this. And I would say in at least 80% of them, we wind up laughing. I mean, it turns out to just really be fun. But I give them the option always that we get into an uncomfortable area, we will pause. All you have to do is look at me, make a motion, I will pause, and we will figure out a new direction to go in. This is especially important when the mother has been like in and out of jail and prison a lot. So when I want to say, oh, like what about the baby's first steps, she'll ask me to go and put it on hold, and she'll tell me I wasn't there for that. And so again, we'll just move to another area. And I always give them the option that we will erase the whole thing right in front of you if you feel uncomfortable in the least. And I haven't had one person do that. We spend a little bit of time talking about what they would like to say to their children. I go through what an oral history is. I tell them it's really just stories that you would have told your child if you had been there with them. And sometimes they don't know what to talk about or how to get started. And so I always go back to, well, we can always talk about your pregnancy and what that was like and how you felt, and morning sickness and how you came up with naming them, and some of your early memories, maybe when they started walking, what it was like to be a new mother, and, you know, the jitters that you get when you bring the baby home. And we also try and gear it to the child's age that it's being sent to. Like a lot of times it's like if I have a kindergartner, I'll go with the mother, like, do you remember what it was like for you starting school? You know, how scary it was the first time you went into the cafeteria and you tried to open up your milk carton and it spilled all over you. And who are you going to sit next to? And, you know, did you act up in class? Did you like recess? How hard was it to learn how to read? Did you have a favorite food? So, I mean, there's just so much that we can, you know, that we can talk about. I had a mother who told her child that she was on vacation. And she made it sound a little bit like she was like in an adult Disneyland. And we finally stopped, and I said to her, I said, do you have any idea how he feels? You know, he's at home, he's missing you, and you're making it sound like you're in this wonderland. You know, this is really going to hurt him. So we were able to restart, you know, at another point and really do her interview again. So, but I can understand, you know, she wants to put herself out there in a good light to her child. But again, the truthfulness is really something that's very important, because some of the times these women are going to be in prison for a very long time. And this could really be the only thing that that child might be holding on to, you know. So it's very important that they be as truthful as possible. And I'll take little notes, and I always tell them that they are welcome to see all of my notes, and that at the end, I want them to go through anything I've spelled, especially if it's the child's name, because the worst thing the kid can get is their name misspelled on the transcription. And since I do most of the transcriptions and I hate to type, I really do not want to mess this up. Generally, our oral histories go between 30 to 45 minutes. And at the end of that, the mother writes a note to their child, and I take it with me and transcribe it, and with a CD of the audio recording, the mother's note, mail off the package to the child or the children. I had one woman that came in, and she presented herself as being very angry, and she was a good-sized woman. And I remember looking at her and thinking, I'm a little intimidated. And she was from Miami, and so we started talking, and I found out where she had grown up, and it was in the southern area, down by Homestead in Gould's Perrine area. And I'm saying, oh, well, like, do you remember the monkey jungle and this and that? And so it's like she warmed up, but she was never really very open. And but I still thought it was a pretty decent, you know, oral history. And she gets up to leave, and I tell her thank you, and I shake hands, and she's not even looking at me in the face. And she gets to the doorway, and all of a sudden, over her shoulder, she turns and she says, "Thank you. This meant a lot to me." And I was stunned. I mean, I was so surprised and really so impressed and so happy. That's the other thing. It just means so much to these women that somebody has listened to them and somebody thinks that their stories are important. I had another much younger mother, 5 children. The first one, she talked to all 5 of them. The second interview, she really wanted the story to go to her 2 daughters, who were her youngest. And she wanted them to know how rough it was being in prison and how you will do anything in your power to avoid being there. It was really, really strong. I mean, she was giving examples of, I can't go and brush my teeth unless I'm somewhere in the line, and how long I have to wait, and I have to sometimes sit on my bunk for 45 minutes to an hour until they can complete the count, and what it's like to be rousted up in the middle of the night and have your belongings tossed onto the floor. And she kept saying, whatever you do, I don't want this for you. Again, I've had grandmothers, and quite a few of them, and it's like, and we'll talk about what it was like going to schools here in Florida. When I went to school in Miami, there was no AC in the elementary school, so we stuck to the seats. So I'm talking with her about that. What was that like for you? Did that happen? And and so it's those are fun. I had another interview recently, a very young mother, 23 years old, and 2 children. And she was very friendly, but she gave me very short answers, like 1 to 3 words at the most. But I realized at the end, I'm thinking to myself, oh, I really failed at this one. But I realized at the end that this really was pretty positive, because when the kids listen to this, they'll know that somebody thought that much of their mother to take her interview. And that I was interested in what she had to say. And that their mother is important. And Sophia's been next to me for all my transcriptions, right?